Hey guys, in this particular tutorial I'm going to be going over the distance formula, but this is more from a geometric approach, and it's very similar to the problem that we just did, which was to find this value x, given that we know the fixed point and the distance for these particular points. Well, what I've done over here is I've already put down a coordinate grid, and I've said, well, I know that the x-coordinate for point A is 0, so I'm not going to move left or right, and I'm going to place it right at a y value of 4. The next thing that I'm going to do is look at B right here and see that this x value here is unknown, which means that I have the option of moving to the left or to the right as much as I want. So not knowing that, I'm really going to need to look at this from two different perspectives. One is saying that this point might be over on the right-hand side of A. The other idea is that it might be over on the left-hand side of A. But I definitely know that because B has a y value of 6, it has to be above the A value. So I'm going to put a point over here, and I'm going to call that B. And then I'm also going to, I guess I should make that blue here, I'm also going to take another color, and we'll make it pink, and put that over here as a way of saying that B could be either one of these. Well, if I look at this as a right triangle problem, then I know that there could be a right triangle that looks something like this right here. And the problem is that I know that the distance between these 2 points, which is always the hypotenuse of the triangle, is 8, and going up and down, I can look at this and say, well, up and down is looking at y values. Well, I know I'm starting at a y value of 4 and going up to 6, so this side right here of this right triangle is 2. Well, that still leaves me with this question right here. What value is that? Well, looking at the Pythagorean theorem, I know that it says that the two legs squared added together have to equal the hypotenuse squared. So looking at that, what I can see is that x squared plus 4 has to equal 64. And then if I subtract 4 from right here, I can see that x squared should equal 60. Now, to get rid of the square, I can take the square root right here, and that should tell me that x is going to be equal to 60. Well, that's for this triangle right here. If I think about it, I started at this point A, which had an x value of 0, and then I moved to the right x units, or this length x right here, which we know is the square root of 60. So if I start at 0 on a number line, and I go to the right a length of square root 60, that's the exact same thing mathematically as saying 0 plus square root 60. So if B was over here on the right hand side, the x coordinate would be equal to whatever this right here is. Well, that tells me that one possible value that x could be is square root 60. If I look at the other possible place that B could be, which is this part right here, I can make the same triangle but on the other side. Well, I know that, once again, looking at this line going straight up and down, it's still starting at a y value of 4 and going to 6, so that means that this length right here is 2. The distance between these 2 points still must be 8, and if you do the Pythagorean theorem again with x, you're going to have the same thing, only going to the left. Well, on a number line, going to the right means to add, so if I look at this and say 0 going to the left, square root 60, that means I'm starting at 0 and I'm going to move in the negative direction. So looking at that, that's going to be 0 minus square root 60. So the other possible value that I get for this is actually negative square root 60. So these two values together, one being positive and one being negative, give me my overall answers for what could possibly be the value for this x coordinate that's up here in the problem. This x that's up here in the problem means that ultimately I can say the solution is plus or minus 60 inside of a square root. And that right there makes up the entire answer for this problem, so I should put a huge box around it, maybe even say answer, label it so that it really stands out. These problems are a little bit more difficult to solve geometrically because you have to go through this step right here where you're saying I'm starting at this point and moving away from it in either direction. If I was looking at moving up and down, I would just have to make sure that I was dealing with the y-coordinate as opposed to the x-coordinate. Personally, I think you should do whichever way makes more sense to you. If you like the geometry way and understand that, by all means feel free to do it. If you saw the other video and prefer to do it algebraically, that is perfectly fine as well. If you have any extra questions, again, my email address is drenniemath@gmail.com, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial.